Well, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you're enjoying a little, looks like the sun is trying to break through here. So thanks so much for joining us today on today's mobile agent class. This was kind of a class I designed as an agent myself of the last 26 years of all the apps that you want to have on your phone so you literally can work from anywhere. So we are going to take you on kind of a tour today of all different apps. We're going to start with Kubacasa. We're going to talk about how you can create these great, awesome floor plans, how it's quick, easy, and free. We're then going to move into the Collaboration Center, which is a way that you can set up a search for your client. They will get all new listings with that criteria that pop up on the market. It's going to give you some great new features. And by the way, that is all new. They just actually changed the whole user interface. So it is more user-friendly for your clients. And of course, you, the agent, can see everything that they're looking at, properties that they're favoriting. I'm even going to show you some shortcuts into showing time. I'm going to show you a couple of shortcuts on your phone today as well. And then we're going to take a look at 3 brand new tools that were just released. And so you're going to get a sneak peek of some exciting things that are also coming up. And then lastly, we're going to end off in Paragon Connect. So we got a lot for you. What I generally hear after this class, though, is, wow, it was so much, Colleen. I feel a little overwhelmed. Well, we're going to touch on each one of these products and show you the bells and whistles, what they do, how to get there, and some of the things you need to know. However, don't be overwhelmed, because I promise there is a class for each and every product that I'm going to show you today, where we take you in and we sort of walk you through, we call it A to Z, everything from setting up your new client right through promoting listings, things like that. So don't get overwhelmed. Know that this is kind of a high-level class where we're going to show you just the basics on the apps that you want to have on your phone so that you can literally work from anywhere. So I'm super blessed. If I haven't got to meet you before, my name is Colleen DeLang. I am the Director of Education here at My Real Source. Also been an agent now for 26 years. Makes me feel old. But I'm super blessed because I have my good friend and well, actually, she's the Director of Communications for My Real Source. You probably know her. She's taught a lot of classes with me. She also teaches an amazing photography class. If you haven't taken that, that one is definitely one to take. But Taylor is in the background, and she is actually answering questions today because we had over 100 people register for this class. So she's going to be behind the scenes taking any questions that you may have. If you're hearing some background noise, I just want to apologize. It's sort of Murphy's Law, right? I had a massive flood in a bathroom, and they are literally cutting out floorboards in the room next to me. So I'm just going to apologize ahead. They've promised they're going to try to keep it down as much as possible, but you know, that is just the way it always goes. So Taylor, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, like Colleen said, I will be behind the scenes answering any questions. And if I feel like it's a great question that everybody should know, or a really common question that maybe Colleen missed or need to show again, I will turn on my mic and interrupt, and then we can go through that. And then there's also a little chat section you guys should be able to see. I'm going to be adding some links in there as Colleen talks about stuff that might be relevant. There's like our YouTube channel where you can watch the recording and helpful links for specific classes that maybe she mentioned. So be on the lookout for those popping up in the chat section as the class goes on, so that you can register for things and check out those links.
I love it. Well, thanks again for helping out. Especially, it's always great when you're having mass construction on a day you didn't plan, right? And so thank you for being there in the background, just in case. I always like to be like the Girl Scout.
Absolutely.
And,
so ask questions, everyone. I can help Colleen, because she's going to be jumping around from her phone and computer and everything. So then manning questions is a lot on one person for 100 people.
It certainly is. It certainly is, especially with this class. And as Taylor mentioned, I kind of like to see the actual app. Okay, so PowerPoints are great. And I'm going to take you through a real quick PowerPoint to begin with of what you need to know, how you can sign up and get started and things like that. However, as an agent, when I'm actually out there doing it, I want to know, what does the app look like? Is it going to be super easy? Is it going to be responsive? I was just teaching at an office, and the biggest thing with Kubacasa and why people said that they didn't want to download it is they were nervous to be able to do it easily in front of a seller. So we literally did it right there in their office. And once they saw how easy it was, they call me all the time and let me know, oh my gosh, I use this. I can't believe I was intimidated by it. So we're going to start off with Kuba Casa today. And as I mentioned, there is an entire Kuba Casa class, so don't get overwhelmed. But I want to show you where you can find this class. We're going to go backwards for just a second. I want to show you where you can find this class recording afterward in case you need to see something again. And at the same time, I want to show you where you can find the new class catalog of all of the classes coming up. And we've got some great classes. Taylor is teaching some Con Ed classes, Con Ed approved classes that will give you legal Con Ed if you need that. So let me show you where to find that. So that's where we're going to start. If you see my screen, you're going to see the resources tab right up here at the top. So click on that. What we did is we created a whole education center. This is where you can go into CE Marketplace, see how many Con Ed credits you have for the year. This is where you can see the recorded class. So again, once we go through here, if you've missed anything or you have to step away to hopefully bottom line an offer, something exciting like that, you can always go back to recorded webinars. And this takes you right to our YouTube channel. I think Taylor's putting it in the chat for you. But the easiest thing is just click on videos. We taught 2 classes last week, one on the all new Paragon Connect and the Collaboration Center. Oh, we taught 3. We also taught one on Cloud CMA. So all you have to do is click on the video link and all of our recorded classes will be right there, as well as Taylor did a great job recapping all of 2025. I know that's got a ton of views too. So take a moment and feel free to browse through those classes. Sometimes when it's 10 o'clock at night, we get the kids to bed, we finally have 1 minute to ourselves and you're like, geez, I gotta, put a new listing in. How do I do that? You can go right to that particular class and maybe fast forward to that exact point that you need a little help with. On top of that, as I mentioned, under resources, this is where you can find the all new education corner, which is basically our digital class catalog. I just finished updating this with all of the first quarter classes. And to sign up for any of the classes, all you have to do is go through this little digital catalog, sign up for the class that you're interested in, just click on it, and it will be just like today's registration. I wanted to also point out, Taylor, as I mentioned, has an awesome photography class. Definitely you're going to want to register for that. That one fills up very, very quickly. I took her class. It's basically a 3-part class, just so you're aware. The first is kind of your intro, and I thought I took kind of good pictures as an agent until I took her class. I learned so many amazing techniques, like, when we're in those little powder rooms and you're either getting a front shot of the toilet or you're in the mirror, because the powder room is so small. She'll show you some great techniques to angle off counters into the mirror to get the entire room, as well as I had no idea how to elongate my shots, like for hallways, they always look kind of short and dumpy. Her class was amazing. And these are free member benefits that you get that other MLSs don't offer. So it's a great class if you haven't taken advantage of that. As I mentioned, there's also some new Con Ed classes, the Broker Advantage, as well as the Photo Copyrights class. Those are taught with our attorney as well. So you get that legal Con Ed, and Taylor's done just a great job organizing and putting those together. So be on the lookout for those. All right, so let's get to what we came here for. Let's talk about Kuba Casa. That's where we're going to start today. Again, we're going to cover a lot of apps. So if you have any questions, just tuck them in the questions box, or Taylor will take care of it from there. But basically, what is Kuba Casa? Kuba Casa is basically just what it sounds like: cubic, measurement, right? And casa, the Spanish word for house. So it's just measuring the home. And that's exactly what it does. Not only does it measure the rooms for you, but it actually will create your total square footage. It'll break the square footage down by level. It'll actually measure each and every room. So if you're old, like I am, I remember getting those long tape measures back in the day, 26 years ago, the big ones that were like this big around, and you would literally hand your seller one end and you would go to the other end of the room, and it took forever because, of course, the sellers wanted to tell you the same stories again and again that you already went over when you were filling out the listing paperwork, but now you're doing it room by room, right? Took a long time. Then we got a little more complicated. I think I even have one in my drawer. We went to these, if anybody remembers these, the laser measures, and the problem was if there was any light in the room that interfered, like an open window, a lot of times the beams were really off. If you sneezed, it was off a couple feet. I mean, it was just, and you had to literally write down each room. It was very cumbersome. Of course, then we got more tech savvy and we all got measuring apps, and that was great. And the measurements were more accurate. But the problem was you still had to go back in and record every single room, which still took way too long. Now, on average, it takes me 5 to 7 minutes to do a complete scan. We are going to do a live scan. And with all the construction going on, I cannot promise it will be clean. I will do my very best. But what we're going to do is a real quick live scan so you can actually see exactly how the app operates. But there's a couple things you want to know before you start using the app. Basically, the people who created Kubacasa, and we looked at 7 different floor plan apps before choosing this one. The people who created Kubacasa saw that there was a big gap. Basically, in the US, there was not a lot of listings that had floor plans. My father's looking at a home right now in Oklahoma, and he said, Colleen, it's really confusing to see. I see the photos, but it's really hard to understand how the layout is. So it's much more conducive to buyers who especially are looking on Zillow or Realtor.com, or if they're out of state. Pictures are great, but where is that picture located? It's really nice when you can do 2 things. You can have a great floor plan, but now I'm going to show you how their brand new product also allows you to add the photos into the floor plan, making it an interactive floor plan. So it's literally like you're walking through that floor plan, and you can see the photos, you can see all of the details. So I think it's even better than Matterport because you're getting the room measurements and the complete layout on top of all of that. So it's very, very cool. So basically they saw a huge demand for this product, but they realized in Europe, 90% of the people putting, and they do it a little bit different, they have a real estate portal in Europe, but they were putting floor plans on almost every listing. But here in the US, it was 10% of the listings, and those were mostly either new construction or rentals. So they saw a big demand to make it easier so that their goal is really that agents will put floor plans on all of the listings. And I think that's how it should be, quite honestly, giving them more value and more information than they can find elsewhere. So what you're seeing is kind of an example of the finished product. Of course, it's going to do the room measuring, but it will also do a fixed furniture. So where the cupboards are, where the tub is, it will also add in those things. It will add in which way the doors open, which way the stairs go. So it's going to do even more than just the typical floor plan. What's the benefit? Of course, it's going to help your listing stand out. It's also going to show buyers the layout of the home. So you're not going to get a lot of people walking in going, oh, I had no idea that this was, so open here. We want to be able to have a little, area away from the kids maybe, or maybe we were kind of thinking it was located where the kids would be a little further down the hall. This is a way to actually show all of that ahead. So you're getting those qualified buyers who are looking for that type of home. And then hopefully that can help reduce your market time. I know that's what we're all looking at right now, right? So how long does it take and how easy is it? Well, I'm going to actually walk you through doing a complete scan today. On average, you're looking at 5 to 7 minutes. Now, let me just say, if you get fancy luxury listings and they're 8,000 square feet, well, yeah, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer because you are going to have to walk that entire level. A lot of people will say, well, do you have to start in the garage, upstairs, downstairs? Where are you starting? Do you start in the basement, work your way up? Well, the answer is you can do it from any starting point. You can start on the upper, let's say it's a colonial, you want to start on the 2nd level, that's totally fine. If you want to start in the basement, you can do that too, because it's going to break it down by level. But what you want to do is you want to do that entire level at one time. So you want to do first, whether you're doing the basement, you want to do the basement, then the main level, then the upper level, or vice versa, the upper level, main level, and then below. But this one does some things that most of the other scanning apps did not. So let me show you a couple of those. By the way, this product was actually created in Norway, and this is kind of an Easter egg. Taylor, I don't know if you knew this, you probably did. The man that you're looking at who's pretending to be an agent is actually the creator of Kubacasa, which I love those Easter egg type of things. But what you're seeing is he's literally opening the app. He is then going to hit the record button. It's really that simple. There's one extra step. Now, this used to call for it to be landscaped in order for you'd have to hold your phone that way. They've actually just improved that as well. So you do not have to turn your phone landscape any longer. And they've added a new function that I'll show you today called a snapshot. So if you, let's say, I'm going to use Kathleen Wasnick. She's always so happy, and she's always got a huge smile on her face. Let's say she is walking through her new beautiful waterfront listing, and she's doing her floor plan, and all of a sudden she looks over the bridgeway and she's like, wow, this is like the money shot, right? We all know that one money shot that you know is going to sell the house, right? You're looking over that bridgeway, you see that beautiful fireplace, and she thinks, you know what? I'm just going to grab a shot right here so I can add this to my flyers, and I'm going to add this to my floor plan. You can grab photos while you're actually doing your scan. So they've added some really cool features, and we're going to cover some of those too. Now you're probably thinking, well, how does this work? I'm looking at my phone. What is it actually capturing? So I'm not a big video person, but I want to show you just kind of a 10-second video just so you know exactly what it's actually doing. It's using something called LiDAR. And LiDAR is, my son calls it the Spider-Man app. That's what he calls it, because it kind of looks like a netting or webbing, and that's how it's using the measurements, and that's how it gets so accurate. So when Taylor and I started beta testing these different floor plan apps, one of the first things we did was we wanted to see, is it accurate? Because that's obviously the most important. So I happened to build my house in 2001. I still had my old floor plan. So I grabbed it, and I was shocked when I compared how accurate it was compared to the others. It was, I think the only spot I found out it was like an inch or two off was the bridgeway in my house. And that's a bit of a hard area because it's obviously only got one side, which is one side is railing, you know, and you've got the light from this big window coming in. But I think that was 2 inches off, and that was the biggest difference in the whole house, which I was kind of impressed with. So here's exactly how it works. I'm going to show you just a real quick video again, just so you can kind of get the overall. Sorry, I thought I already skipped the video, but apparently not. Go. All right, so what it's actually doing, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger here, is over to the right, you're seeing what the human's doing. They're walking, so that large screen that you're looking at there, I know it's kind of 3 boxes, that large screen is just the human walking through the room. You can see there several times he does have to backtrack through a room, and that's okay, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Sometimes you do have to walk through the room to enter, and then again through that same area to leave. On the top is what the viewer on your camera is looking at. And then down below is actually what's being captured in the scan. So kind of just a bird's eye view. People will say, well, Colleen, you know, how is it capturing that? What is it actually doing? So just kind of wanted to show that because I think it's kind of a good way to see exactly what what you're doing versus what it's capturing versus what you're actually looking at. The reason that we liked Coupa Casa so much was because it did things that all the others didn't. Let me give you a couple examples that Taylor and Taylor has some property. She's got a pole barn. She's got a really nice little setup with some acres. So having an app that is going to showcase things like, if you have, in this case, there is a kidney-shaped pool. Or if you have, I've always wanted a she shed in the back, but I don't have one yet. But if you have a pole barn or you have a shed or those things, those outbuildings can also be included in your scan. The other thing that it did that I thought was amazing is if you've ever tried to measure curved walls, we have a neighborhood over here, and every time I show homes in there, they have these beautiful curved hallways and a beautiful curved staircase, but did you ever try to measure that? That is not easy. So this, because it uses LiDAR, has no problem with that and will just allow you to continue to walk through that curve, and it will still grab the measurements for you. So as you can see in this example, would be a hard one to measure because that whole outer wall there is those curved windows, and you've got a kidney-shaped pool. So that agent literally just walked around. This is a real scan, by the way. Literally just walked around the pool and walked around that shed area to add those into your scan. So makes it really easy. All right, here's another really good example. Now, I'm going to be honest, I really don't know why there is an Airbnb in the shape of a shoe. I guess maybe if you have a shoe fetish, or maybe they were just, I don't know, maybe they owned a tune shop. I'm not exactly sure, but this is an actual Airbnb in Maine, and it is in the shape of a shoe. Every single wall just about is curved. So you can imagine how difficult this would be to measure. So literally just walking through each level individually, it will create a floor plan of each level. Now, each level can be broken out, and there is an end scan that has all of the levels together along with that total square footage. So keep in mind, you can see each level separately, and as well as you can do that. I like to do each level in the photos in the MLS because it's easier to see. If you use the scan of all 3 levels together, it's much smaller and a little harder to see. Now, that being said, there are 2 ways to use your floor plans. One, you can add it to your photos in the MLS. So they send you a JPEG file. So you can simply add that in. When people are going through the photos, they're also seeing the floor plan. In that case, I use the floor plan each level, and then I use the combined level so they can see everything all together at the end. However, it also sends you a PDF. So you can also include that in your associated documents. So that makes it easy to email out to someone in the all new Collab Center that we're going to see. I'm going to show you how that actually pops up now for your buyer clients. So some very cool features there. A couple things you need to know before you start using it. That's why I'm taking you on this little tour here. You can choose whether or not you want the room sizes added to your floor plan. It's a simple toggle on, toggle off. Do you want them there or do you not want them there? The reason that they did that is some people will sell new construction. And you know how in new construction you have like elevation A, elevation B, elevation C, and many times the square footage will change. You might have a larger living room in elevation C than you have in elevation A because it costs a little more, right? So if you don't want to, let's say you're doing new construction, maybe you're sitting in the model and you have different elevations, you can just create the actual layout without the measurements. So it's a toggle on or off, and you can change it as many times as you want. So if you're showing it to one person, they're looking at a larger elevation, you could toggle it off. And then when you send it out to person B with the original elevation, you could toggle it back on. So very easy to do. So they guarantee a 24-hour delivery, which is perfect. But I have to tell you, I have gotten almost all of mine back in less than 12 hours, which I think is perfect because by the time I go on a listing appointment, let's say you're going on a listing appointment at 6 o'clock at night. By the time I'm ready to put that listing in at, let's say, 6 a.m. when I get up, I've already got that scan back. By having it back already, I have all the room measurements, I have the layout, and I'm ready to put that information right into the MLS. As I mentioned, this is a free app. You don't have to pay to download the app. You don't have to pay for any type of subscription. There is no monthly. People say, well, what's the monthly? There is no monthly subscription. You don't have to pay for Cuba Casa at all. But there is one thing you need to know. It covers you up to 5,000 square feet. Now, I'm never lucky enough to get those fancy, ginormous waterfront listings like some do. However, if you have an 8,000 square foot home, there is going to be a $12 charge. And let me explain why. The main difference between Cuba Casa and a lot of the other ones we looked at, by the way, some of these other ones started at like $35 a scan. So for $12 to have over 5,000 square feet, I think is very reasonable. However, the reason that this one is different is there's an actual human element. The big keyword right now is becoming human loop in AI, right? That human element. So technology is great, and AI is coming, it's rapidly getting better and better. But what about the human piece? There still has to be that human piece that can see you've walked through the room twice, or that will automatically know, oh, there's a sink, there's a fridge, this is a kitchen, right? So more and more of that is being done by AI. But the difference that made this one really good quality is there is a human that reviews every scan. So if you do have to double back through a room, they're able to see that and not count that in your total square footage. So a human actually reviews the scan, and that's why if it's over 5,000 square feet, if you've got a beautiful luxury 8,000 square foot home, that is going to take them longer to review that scan. They also do, like any product, have a lot of upsells. I'm going to tell you, I do the upsell on every one because for $12, the 4 things that I get that I really like, and I'll show you, it's totally worth it for me. Now, you don't have to. You could just do the basic floor plan, and it's free. It's not going to cost you anything unless, again, it's over 5,000 square feet. Please remember that does include your basement and your garage. So you want to keep that in mind too. So mine get, I'd say even your 3,000 square foot home, you're going to might end up at 4 if you got a large garage and basement. So keep that in mind. If it's asking you for a credit card, you've hit that. And by the way, it does ask you to, if you want to store a credit card in there, if you go over that 5,000 square feet, that's when it's going to charge you that $12. Now, it will label everything for you as far as the room names. However, if you want to change that, you can. I always like, again, that human element. I might be looking at it and it might be labeled as a laundry room, but I might want to label that it's a mud room right off the garage and, list out some of the amenities. And you can do that. You can change the room names. You can add your own logo. You can add your own color scheme. So you can actually customize it. Not going to go into too much, but keep in mind, if you sign up the way I'm going to show you right now, you get 20% off anything. And I'm not here to sell you anything. I mean, the basics is great. I like to pay the $12 because I like the combined square footage. I like the interactive hotspots. It does a whole lot for you. It will give you that the fictions of where the doors opening, things like that. You can, if you are an appraiser, by the way, they also have the GLA appraisal report, and that's $12. So if you're an appraiser and you just want to use it for that alone, that will work for you, but that would cost you that extra $12. So basically how it works is it's $15, you get 20% off. And so anything that you add, and they have all kind of, you can do Matterport, you can do Dollhouse, they have 3D video rendering, so it's unlimited. But I just want to tell you that I think really the $12 Pro package that I'm going to show you what that includes, that's really your best value, and that gives you the most bang for your buck. Again, if you are an appraiser, that's going to give you interior walls, doorways, staircases, ingresses and egresses. It will label each room, and it will now, as we know, a lot of changes going on in the appraisal world, it'll label things above and below ground, so it knows that, and it will calculate that on your GLA report. As I mentioned, you can change it to your own company colors, kind of fly through this. They also, now this one was really hard for Taylor and I, because really training is really important to us, and our technical support is really important to us. We kind of have prided ourselves that we do all of our technical support in-house. Most of the people that you're talking to when you're calling in, a lot of them are agents, they're using the product, and they're very knowledgeable, and they're high-level support people. And we like it that way because a lot of times, I know for me, if I'm using a product and I have a question, first I have to wait on hold for 25 minutes. Then I'm redirected to another country where I'm very frustrated because they don't know anything about the real estate I'm trying to do or what I'm talking about. It's very frustrating. So we decided what worked best for my RealSource members and any of the ones that we vendor is if we support our own products. That way, if you call in on a question of how to get your listings from Paragon to Cloud, we're not going to send you to 2 different places. We're going to have one person in-house help you 7 days a week for free, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Little plug for our customer service. The only problem we had with trying to do that for Kubacasa, and we can answer general questions, but we can't see inside your phone. We can't see the scan that goes directly to them. So I wanted to test out their customer support, and I have to tell you, I was happily surprised because I've used a few of our products and called their support directly, and it's just, I haven't loved it. Support through other companies can be painful. You wait on hold for a long time, just not fun. But I was pleasantly surprised. They are global, so no matter when you reach out, it can be 2 o'clock in the morning. It happened to be 9:45, I think, when I was asking questions, and I did even ask a trick question to see how it would be responded to. I got a response from their instant chat immediately. They knew, because it's coming from in the app, they knew right away who I was, what MLS I belonged to, what the entitlements were, and that was very helpful. So I didn't have to give all of those details. They could see all of that, which it took me seconds to get my issue resolved. And then after that, again, I asked a couple other questions, kind of trick questions to see, how did they know exactly where I was and what my benefits should be? So how do you sign up? Well, you want to go, basically you're going to sign up, you're going to start scanning, you're going to get your floor plan. It's really that easy. And it does not have to be where you're waiting to your next listing appointment to try this. Please don't do that. Scan your own home. By the way, your first scan, you can add in all the bells and whistles for free. They want you to try it. They want you to test it out. So once you sign up, when you do your first scan, it'll allow you to add on all these goodies for free. So definitely do that. But if you don't have a listing appointment scheduled yet, do it in your own home. Do it in a neighbor's home or a friend's home or somebody who's going to list in the future. Because you kind of want to, at least for me, I kind of want to be the guinea pig first, right? I want to test it out and see how it responds before my seller standing next to me and I decide to try it. So basically, you're going to go into Paragon, you're going to go under resources, and you're going to just select Cuba Casa floor plans. Once you do that, it's going to say sign up. It's going to verify your information. It's going to make sure that we have your name right, what MLS you belong to. Once you select My Real Source, and by the way, if you're with a vendor at MLS on our call today, make sure you use My Real Source, even if that's not your MLS, even if you're with Bay or the Upper Peninsula or whatever MLS you happen to belong to, you want to select My Real Source so it knows to give you all the benefits that you're entitled to, so it doesn't start to try to charge you for things. Lastly, you want to tell it, are you an agent or an appraiser? Please don't pick any of the others because those come with charges. The ones that we negotiated were for members, which for us would, of course, be agent or appraiser. So just select one of those two options. You're going to get the app. You're going to get an email right on your phone. It's going to prompt you to download it from there. Super simple. This is what it's going to look like. It will only ask you to log in one time, which is super nice. And then from there, you'll be able to start doing unlimited scans. So remember, there is no cost to download it. There is no cost for the app. You don't have to start paying once you hit a certain number of scans. Like you don't get 2 free and then it's not like that. The only time you're going to need to pay is if you go over that 5,000 or you want to include some of those pro services. All right, so they have a bunch of new things that they've added because we're going to combine this. I'm not going to go too far into this, but basically they have this way that you can get the snapshots, the home report, the interactive hotspots, all for the $12. And it's called Cuba Casa 3.0. I'm not going to go through the video because I'm just going to kind of highlight it when we actually do it. But basically, it's going to give you all of that for that $12 fee. So you're not, nickel and diming, I want this, but I want this. And then, all of a sudden you got all this stuff in your cart. So easy, it's free. And again, unless you go over that 5,000 square feet, you shouldn't incur any charge. I like the add-on, but let's actually do a quick scan live. And the only reason I like to do this, I'm just going to do my very messy house since it's under construction at the moment. But the reason I like to do this is, again, kind of want to see what's it going to look like. When I'm standing next to somebody, isn't the time I want to see, how is this going to actually respond? So I'm just going to take you on a real quick tour. We're just going to kind of scan the office real quick. The hardest part about doing a scan, I'll be totally honest with you, is just the prep before. So if you remember to open your walk-in closet doors, if you remember to open your window coverings, you don't have to keep stopping to do that stuff. So that's the hardest part, is just remembering to sort of prep it. I tell people it's like prepping for an open house, right? You would turn all the lights on, you would open all the window coverings to let the light in, right? You'd open up those walk-in master, the primary bath door, open your primary closet if you've got a big walk-in. You'd really want to have all of that stuff done ahead so you don't have to kind of fumble around. All right, so I am going to change my screen. I think I connected pretty seamlessly this time. Apparently, I'm getting better at this, Taylor. So I am going to just switch this over to my screen for my phone in about 10 seconds. Hopefully, you can see that. Taylor, are you able to see my phone?
Yep, let me check 1 second. There was a question about the version that they should select. There's somebody, Deborah, she's an agent and an appraiser, and she was wondering which hat or which one she should select, or if she can change to which hat she's wearing and to get the report.
Great question. You could do either. I would probably use the agent. Quite honestly, I mean, it probably either would work fine. I'm thinking if you'd use the agent, because the agent does prompt you to get the GLA report if you need it. So I would probably use that one. I think either one would probably work, but I would stick with the agent to be safe.
And yes, I can see your phone. I see a beautiful ballroom photo right now.
That was my castle tour in Europe a few years ago. So I have to tell you, that was just incredibly amazing. And
That's
that
really
ceiling,
neat.
yeah, it was gorgeous. It happened to be in Norway, and that ceiling was painted in gold. It was amazing. But thank you. All right. So the first tip and trick I mentioned, I'll give you a couple tips and tricks for your phone as well. I hate, as I mentioned, being embarrassed and fumbling around trying to find a lockbox when my buyers are standing behind me. I hate also, trying to do a scan. My seller's standing next to me, but I don't know what to expect. So I to have everything in one little real estate folder. I don't want to have to keep scrolling. And when I say everything, I literally have my title work rate sheet in here. So as I'm doing a seller's net out, I can pull out exactly what their title is going to cost. I have my business card in there. I have the Paragon Connect app, which we're going to look at in just a few moments. I have my Master Lock app. I even use a sign company, which I love, upside down signs, where you can literally stand where you want your sign to be installed, and it uses your GPS, and then they are out in like 24 hours. They take a picture and then they send it to you. But I want to have it all in one spot is the whole point here. And Kubicasa is no different. I want to be able to just click on it and start my scan. So I'm going to just log in here real quick. So somebody right before, and so logged in as them. All right. So when you start your Kubicasa app, you're going to click to open it. It will make you log in one time originally. So you're going to download it from the email. You're going to log in, and this is where you can go back. You can see your previous scans. But if you want to start a new scan, right down here at the bottom, you're just going to hit that little scan button. And it's basically going to ask you just a couple questions to get you started. It wants to know, are you basically in a condo or apartment style building where all the residences are really close? Are you doing a single family home? Because what it's going to try to do is it's basically going to try to find your location. So I'm going to say I'm scanning my home. So I'm going to do a single family home. And then from here, you can see it automatically brought up the address. However, if it's like maybe it's a duplex and there's two addresses, you can easily change that by just clicking on the pencil icon. Of course, that's going to allow you to make that change, or you can put in a suite A, suite B if you have something like that. The nice thing is it found exactly where I'm standing, so it makes it easy. Again, it's going to give you a couple tips. You can turn these off. I leave them on just so as I teach classes, it's kind of a reminder. But the hardest part, again, open the doors, open those windows, and get your room prepped. The other thing people always will ask is, do I shoot at the ceiling? Am I aiming for the wall? Do I just aim at the floor? I tell people the best thing to do is kind of aim at your baseboards, and you want to stand about 1 foot to 2 feet out. If you make a mistake, I like to call them, and I need blonde friendly instructions in my life. I really do. I can tell you, I need it to tell me I'm going too fast or I'm too close to something, and it does just that. It doesn't interfere with your scan at all, but what it will do, and I'll do an example, it'll put a little banner right over your screen that says you're standing too close, or it will say you're moving too quickly. But as long as you walk at a normal speed and you're aiming at the baseboards, you should have absolutely no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. It also tells you what not to do. Again, don't get too close to the furniture. By the way, if you have a hoarder house like I recently had, and there's boxes stacked up, both Taylor and I have tested this, and Taylor was funny because she was just moving and she had some boxes in her basement, and normally I have a little OCD, not that you can tell today with all the construction, but when we started testing this, my son was doing a candy bar drive, so we had boxes of candy bars stacked up in the dining room. It looks past all of that. It's actually focusing on the wall, and that's where that LiDAR comes in. So basically, let's start our scan. So as you can see, I am literally going to just hit that scan button, and that's going to start our scan. It's that simple. That other button that you see next to it, that camera, that is just if you want to take those photos. Remember I told you the snapshot feature? If you've got that $1 million photo and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to come back and retake all these photos, you can literally do it at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my record button. Now, if I get too close to a wall, you see how it tells you, oh, whoa, whoa, you're too close. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to back out. And as hopefully you can see that. I don't know if it comes out too well on doing the live stream, but that's why my son calls it the Spider-Man app that you're seeing right there. That's actually doing the measuring with the LiDAR. And then I'm going to continue. Hopefully it's not too messy. I apologize with a week, 2 weeks actually of construction. It's been kind of crazy. But of course, I'd want to have those windows open. I'd want to have the door open, and it's measuring right as we go through. So hopefully that gives you kind of just a rough idea. I know it's not perfect, but at least it kind of gives you an idea of how really simple it is. That's it. Once I'm done with my scan, I'm not going to scan my whole house because it's covered in plastic, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to go ahead and finish my scan. And it's going to say, do you want to, there is a pause button now when scanning. I don't know if I'm 100% recommending that. And I say that because if you don't start and stop in the same spot, you can have gaps. So there is a pause and then a resume, but you have to remember to start exactly in that same spot. So I just say, set that 5 minutes aside and do the whole thing. It just makes it that much easier. An area, maybe a waterfront listing that doesn't have great cellular reception, you may just want to save for later. And then when you get home and you have a good, network that you're connected to, so it goes much faster, then go ahead and send it. You can delete a scan if you make a mistake and you need to restart. But the other thing that I really like is all of your orders are here too. So I can see if I want to go back to my Hensel property, I can literally click on it. I can see the floor plan right from here on my phone or my desktop. Remember how I said you can even toggle those measurements, so you can toggle them on or off just like that. You can save it easily. And again, you can use this on a desktop or you can use this right on your phone as I'm doing here. So if I'm standing next to someone, I can shoot it right to them. I can save it to my phone, share it to my phone, make any changes that are necessary, but you can do all of that. By the way, that make changes is brand new. They just added that about 3 weeks ago. And that's if I want to relabel the rooms or anything like that. Okay, so hopefully that gave you a bird's eye view. Again, there's an entire Kuba Casa class that even covers more. I think you can see it's very, very easy to use. And I'm going to switch back over here to my screen, and that way, stop sharing, and that way I can show you some of the other highlights. And then we're going to jump into the Collaboration Center, which is all new for your clients. It's basically a set it and forget it, where you set up a client and anything new any new properties that come out of the market, they're going to get right away. It looks like you're working 24 hours a day for them. And it is a full-fledged app for your clients, but you can see every single thing that they're doing. So I love it. One last thing I want to just touch on before we get out of the Kuba Casa mode is they've added these new, as I mentioned, you can add photos now to your floor plan. This is called the interactive hotspots, and this is the reason that I pay that $12 charge. And the reason is that you now can make your floor plans interactive. So I can click on these hotspots, and it's like I can see the exact view from that area. The photos are included. You can move the hotspots. The only limitation I found so far, because I'll tell you the good and the bad, right? They give you 26 hotspots. And the only thing I found, you can move them all around, you can change them at any time. You basically just upload your photos, you can upload them right into the MLS and then put them in. The only thing that I found, you could not move the photo outside the structure. So you can't at this time, they are working on that. You can't at this time like move it to the pool or move it to, Taylor's pole barn, things like that. So right now it's within the confines of the structure. But I think 26 is ample. I love that you can easily change them. And while we're on this subject, I happen to be a big Nextdoor fan. Taylor has done a great job. If anybody else uses Nextdoor photos, they're all over the place, so you can use them no matter where you are in Michigan. But what was interesting is they have partnered with Kuba Casa. I really, really like them. I like, they're very professional. They get in there right away. Scheduling's really easy, but Taylor even worked it out. So if you do use them, you can put in a promo code and you actually get a discount, I think they're one of the more reasonable ones anyway. But they also add the hotspots for you. And I thought this was so cool. So this happens to be my Green Brick listing that just closed recently. And all I have to do is Nextdoor puts all of these hotspots in for me. So I kind of want to show you a real life example. So this was my Greenbrook listing. Let me move GoToWebinar out of my way so I can show it to you. And if I want to move a hotspot that they've set up for me, I can just drag and drop it. If I want to add another photo, I can do that. So they put them in there and they label everything for you, makes it super easy. Your whole floor plan is there. But again, with the agent, sometimes we want to go in and we might want to make a change. Maybe I did take a different dining area photo and I added that. So all those little tweaks that you can do. But if I want to see how that is going to look, I'm literally just going to click on that hotspot. It's going to show down here, and I can also now add my descriptions for them. So very, very cool. If you haven't checked that out, I'm sort of a big Nextdoor fan. And like I said, Taylor's done a great job of even securing a discount for us there. Okay, on to the next product. So I call it the set it and forget it. And this had just about 2 months ago, it got a complete change. It is now a full app, meaning your clients can download it. They can even go to the App Store, the Google Play Store. They can be standing in front of a listing, getting all of the information, but they're only seeing your contact information. Because if I set them up as a client, the last thing I want to do is calling somebody's number on the sign in front of them, right? I want them to see all of my contact information, but of course, get all the detail that they're looking for. So when new properties come onto the market, they're immediately delivered to your buyer, and your buyer will get that pop-up notification on their phone. They can literally click in and see all of the detail. And by the way, on their phones, it will format to any size screen, whether they're on a tablet or a phone. On their phone, it'll look something like this. They can literally scroll through those high resolution photos. Looks like a little updating might be needed in the kitchen, but they can see all of that detail. And it's, again, going to resize to their resolution for their device. Let me go back and show you a couple of the highlights. So one of the things I liked about this in this new version is, for how long has it been that we've said things like, I wish I could give the client more information than they can find on Zillow, or how I wish I could find a way to find properties faster, get them in faster, give them more information than they can on other IDX sites. Well, for the first time, by using the Collab Center, we can do that. So let me tell you what I mean. One, a lot of times clients will call and they'll say, you know what, Taylor, why didn't you tell me about this house at 123 Main Street? You know, we've been looking for 3 months and I didn't see. Well, Taylor looks it up and 123 Main Street closed 30 days ago, right? It's not really active. It just is showing active on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever it happens to be. This is not going to happen with the Collab Center, because the Collab Center really is the live MLS database. So within 30 seconds of an agent changing it, the client is going to see that status has changed. So it is actually the live database. In my welcome to the Collab Center that I have for my clients, I have actually right in my welcome, I've set you up in the MLS like an agent. This is the tool that the agents use. So one, that gives them, oh my gosh, well, we should use this. I tell them that it's going to be a little bit more current right in their initial welcome. But the reason I like this is the first time we can give them things that they cannot find on Zillow or these other places. And what I mean is, let's say you're getting ready to show a condo. How frustrating is it when you have to call the listing agent because they didn't bother to put in that you can have dogs or can't have dogs, or didn't bother to put in what the pet restriction is, 2 dogs, 3 dogs, whatever it happens to be, or no dogs altogether. So we're having to call to make sure that our clients can, keep a little fluffy here. Now, associated documents like bylaws, rules and regs, floor plans, surveys, whatever the agent has added is seller's disclosures, lead-based paint disclosures. Those are now visible, whether it's a My Real Source listing, a RealComp listing, a GMR listing, doesn't matter. Those under the documents right here are going to appear, so your clients can view those with one click. So again, it's really nice if you're showing a condo and the rules and regs or the bylaws are right there for your client to review. So it's not them taking your word for it, they can actually see it. Of course, it's going to have all of the property details, and it's going to have things like the room measurements, so they can see all of that. The HOA fees will be there. They can see the property history. They can, of course, see the mortgage payment calculator to calculate the numbers, even some community reports. But let me show you what makes this so much better. So they've done some great enhancements. One is tagging. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But what I love is if a client is interested in this property and they want to see it, I write in my welcome, say, just click on the heart and it will send it right to me. That's what it does. If they favorite a listing, that goes directly to you, the agent, so you know that you can get them in there. But then usually what happens to me at that point is I get the favorite, pops up on my phone in my Paragon Connect app, because that's what the agents are using. And then I have to call them and I have to say, hey, Mr. Fumagalli, when would you like to see it? Oh, let me call Mrs. Fumagalli. Now I've called them. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. By the time they do, it's already pending. That's kind of frustrating. So right in my welcome, I tell them about the favorite button, but I also tell them there is a place that says request a showing. Just put in the comment section a couple times and dates that you're available. This allows me to eliminate that step of having to call them. What I can do is now check my schedule. It doesn't actually set the appointments. Don't panic. It's not like you're now involved and you have to be there. What it's actually doing is it's relaying that to you with the favorite that pops up on your phone, so you know the time and date that they would like to see it. And you can see, are you available? I always tell my clients put 2 or 3 in there just so I can make sure I'm not showing other clients around at that time. And then all they have to do is put it in the comment section. It comes directly to you. It eliminates that phone call. So it's great on the client side because it's gotten easier, but watch, it gets even better on the agent side. So of course, now we've got a couple properties that came on the market. They're being sent right over to my client. Let's say they went in, I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, grab a couple. Went in, they favorited a couple of these properties. Those, of course, are immediately coming to me as the agent, but it's going to save me some steps. Before I jump to that, though, let me show you a couple new features on the client side. Clients, of course, can go in and you're setting up that initial search. If they decide, you know what, Colleen's right, we can't find anything for $250, we're going to have to increase our price to $3. Well, then when they do that, and they can do that, by the way, they can edit the search you've set up for them. I get that notification too. So now I know, oh, maybe I want to increase my price range. Maybe they're looking in a different area than they originally were. I get that notification that they've made that modification to their search. But they can, of course, do their own property searches too. You can see all of that. So if they're looking in an area maybe they weren't looking at before, I can see that from here. The other thing that they can do that is new is if they're looking, let's say that Taylor's been showing them properties. They have, they're down to, they've selected 3 or 4. Address that. Let's say that they are looking at a couple different properties. They're trying to make a decision. Stupid Pinterest thing that pops up on here. And we're going to compare these properties. So let's say that she's shown them a couple properties. They're now in that final stage. They're trying to make the decision. They can actually select the properties. They can go to this compare button right here, and it will literally stack those properties side by side. So I can see which one had more acreage. I can see which one had that pole barn, which one had the larger square footage. So they can actually compare properties from here. Maybe they're just going to drive by these 2 before reaching out to get a showing appointment. So maybe they just want to create turn-by-turn driving directions. They can do that using MapQuest right from here. They can also share them. You can either share them maybe via email. Maybe they want to just text them to a family member, copy the link into an email they started or a text that they started. They can even send them on Facebook via Messenger. So they can share it easier. They can do more, and obviously they can compare. Lastly, they can also tag properties. What that means is if they want to basically better organize their search, they can not only favorite properties, but they can go in and kind of organize their search by setting up tags. Here's a couple examples. I did one, maybe they want to tag all the houses that had finished basement. That was important to them. Maybe they wanted to tag ones that had pole barns. So you can actually create, as the client, a custom tag like Oak Ridge or Pole Barn, whatever you want it to be. And you can tag properties so that when you're trying to flip through them and see which one had that pole barn again, it's very easy to see those properties. So they've added some great enhancements on the client side. But what I also like is that it made it easier for us on the agent side. Now, I think up to now, the biggest, because a lot of this is brand new, I'm going to show you brand new features that just got released last week in Paragon Connect. A lot of the features that I'm going to show you, you may not be familiar with yet, but you're going to see them even get better and better over the course of the next couple of weeks. The biggest point of confusion, I think, is the apps themselves. So I get a lot of calls from agents. They're saying, I'm trying to download this collaboration center. Well, the agent doesn't want to have multiple apps, right? You want to have one trusted app that has everything, and that's for the agent. The client just wants to have one app, and that is the collaboration center. So whether you set it up for them or whether they get it from the Google Play Store or the App Store, they want to have one app and you want to have one app. But the apps are called something different. The collaboration center is for the client. Paragon Connect is for you, the agent. Now I'm going to go totally off script and say stuff that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. When Paragon Connect was first released, I'm going to just tell you I hated it. I tried it and I hated it, but I didn't know why I hated it yet. So let me give you the background story, because I talked to a lot of people who said, I tried it 2 years ago and I didn't like it. And you know what? You were right. Because it wasn't very good 2 years ago, but there was a reason, which I was unaware of. So I kind of want to give you the explanation and why you should try it again now. So if you remember, and I know many people on this call will, I know I went to Kathleen Wozniak's office. I remember showing HomeSnap and talking about how great it was, how I loved it. And I used HomeSnap. I thought it was the best thing ever. And I still think that was the best app. I miss it so much. HomeSnap allowed you to do things that no other app did. Meaning you could walk property lines in real time at the property in augmented reality. You could actually open up the app and change fields on your listing. You could change the price or the status. You could look up an agent if you got kind of an offer and half of it's missing and you're like, are they new or are they just really lazy? You could just type in the agent name. It would show you how long they've been in business, how many deals they've done. It was fantastic. And so across the country, most Paragon users really liked this app. So ICE, the makers of Paragon, they said, you know what? We're going to build all the technology and the functions in this app that they already have and love and are using, which made total sense, right? So a lot of the functionality, like changing things on your listing and changing prices and making it easier to do, that was all built into HomeSnap. Then comes along the Homes.com, and Homes.com had an app already created that they were marketing. And they said, hey, our goal is to give Zillow a run for their money. Their words, not mine. Those were in their structure letter. And they decided that HomeSnap was going to compete with their app. So with only 2 months notice, they told us, hey, HomeSnap is going to be no more. As of October, it will be gone. You will not be able to access it any longer. So that sort of left us scrambling, going, oh my gosh, we got to have a mobile app, because now it was going out of business. So they had a mobile app for Collab Center, but they had to pivot on that. So of course, every agent, now that we log in that first day and we go, oh my gosh, we went to this app, and it really wasn't meant to be a fully fledged agent app. It was really set up for the client. So they had to create it from scratch. So if you logged in 2 years ago, like I did, and you're like, okay, I hate this, I'm never going to use it, I'm going to ask you to take another look at it, because it is so much better. Did you know you can actually edit every single field of your listing on the go? If something was put in incorrectly, you can one tap and change it. You can grab photos right from your phone and upload them to your listing. There are better editing tools, matter of fact, in Connect than there are, in my opinion, in Paragon. And what you're going to see over the course, and it's not going to be immediate, but over the next 5 years, you're going to see that these apps start to the app and the desktop start to come together and look exactly the same because that's where it's going. So if you haven't taken a look, you can pull contacts in from your phone. I live in Richmond, just a little small country town, but I was standing at the grocery store and a friend of mine came in line behind me. She start looking again. You know, we had the baby and we stopped for a while. And so literally while we were talking, I went into my app. It took me about 30 seconds to set up a new search for her. She received the welcome while she's standing there, and we could talk about the houses it just sent, all in the matter of about 45 seconds. So it has gotten so much better. If you haven't checked it out, and I'm going to show you some reasons you're going to want to do that next, please take another look at it, because I agree with you. It was not there when it first came out, but there was kind of a background story. So hopefully that makes sense. So just before we go into Paragon Connect, I want to show you on the agent side of the Collaboration Center what makes this actually much more seamless. So the clients are going in, they're favoriting properties. By the way, they can also go in and ask questions. They can flag a property as a possibility. They can ask a question, write it, or comment. They can flat out say, I just don't like this house, and reject it. I'm going to show you why that becomes really helpful too. But basically, the client, when they're doing this, I can see all of that. So now these favorited properties are coming my way. So they're going to pop up in my app, and I now see, oh, they want to see 123 Main Street. I now can see the time. But the last thing I want to have to do is now log into the MLS and write down all these addresses and put them in manually. That would be a pain. There's a much easier way. So let me show you. So I just got those favorite notifications, so I know my clients want to see a couple of these homes. I'm going to go right to my contacts in Paragon, and I'm going to go to this view and manage contacts. That's basically going to bring up everybody that I have set up now in Collab Center, and I can see they're set up because I see this view button. Now here's where it gets really cool. So let's say they call Ann. And they say, you know, Ann, we favorited a couple properties, just had a question on the third house that popped up for us today. Well, Ann wants to see it just like her client is seeing it. So she's going to click on this view button, and she literally can see the Collaboration Center just as they're viewing it. And I really like that. So if they're looking at those new matches they just got sent, I like that I can see it in the exact order that they're looking at it. So I can say, oh yeah, you're talking about the third one down on Clover Lawn. I'm seeing it like they are. The other thing I like about this is, let's face it, technology is great. And when I say set it and forget it, that's a wonderful idea. But in real estate, there are no two deals that are always the same, right? There's always a hiccup that we have to work through. And so we have to be able to automate it, yes, to make it easy, but we also have to have that oversight as brokers and agents, because sometimes, let's face it, we know more about what they're going to buy than they do. So let me give you a couple examples. My good friend, Dawn Waldrop, she's actually a manager of a Real Estate One office. She happened to call me. We were going to go to breakfast, and I was showing around this first-time home buying couple. And I kid you not, I am not exaggerating. If they told me one time, they told me 30. We're only going to live in St. Clair Shores, Colleen. Don't show us anything out of St. Clair Shores. We're only going to live in St. Clair Shores. We like the parks. We like the amenities. Don't show us anything outside. We're not going to live there. So you know what happened. They bought outside of St. Clair Shores, right? So we as agents, a lot of times we know that it might not fit in their price point. We might know they're not going to get that there. A lot of times we as the agent or the broker know a little bit more about what they're going to end up with sometimes than even they do, especially when they're a first-time home buyer. So in this particular case, we're having breakfast. Dawn shows me the pictures of her new listing. She's putting it in the MLS that day. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt, as soon as I saw it, every bell in my head went off, and I knew this was their house. So sure enough, the hardest part was it's not going to automatically get sent to them, right? So they have what's called an agent recommended. That's right in their Collaboration Center. So when I do an agent recommended listing, it pops up in front of them in the Collaboration Center, and it shows them, even though it didn't fit their exact criteria. So it happened to be 2 streets out of St. Clair Shores. So it didn't pop up in their automated search. But again, we have to have ways to mold that to make it work for actual real estate. Another real life example, I swear you can't make these up, right? We had a closing with this lady. She was just one of those clients you just love working with. You know you're going to be friends after. You know you're going to have coffee, once a month. They're just those clients, right? So we're closing her deal up, and she said, my sister just started looking. I'm going to give her your contact information. And I am thinking, wow, it doesn't get better than this. She's awesome. We're at our closing. She's already giving me a referral, and I assumed the sister would be just like her, very sweet and definitely polar opposites. The second call was something like this: Colleen, if you send me one more yellow-sided home, I'm going to fire you and get another agent. Well, first of all, I don't think she ever mentioned she didn't like yellow siding, which was the first problem. And second of all, there is no button in the MLS that says, hey, take out all yellow-sided homes, right? So you have to have these ways of fail-safing the automation. So in her case, what we did is we set up an agent preview. So let me explain what that is. Again, most things can be set up, so I just wanted to go right to the client. But this client is going to be more difficult or more challenging. I want to see those things before they go to her to make sure there's no yellow siding, right? So how do you do that? Well, that is what we call an agent preview. So basically, you'll see this needing approval button right here. I can go in, I can click on that number 3, and I can see, oh, is there any yellow-sided homes? And I can see, actually, looks like we'll pretend this one's yellow siding. So we want to send these 2 because they don't have yellow siding. But maybe we don't want to send that third one because it does have yellow siding. So we can disapprove that listing and it will never go to the client. So again, ways to set it up so it's automated, but still giving the agent that control. I also like, and you're going to notice, I'm going to show you something brand new in just another minute. You're going to see another column has just been added for reverse prospecting, which is very different than for reverse prospecting you used to know. Thankfully, because I hate those. You get bombarded with all of those, and you're like, oh my gosh, obviously I could find that home myself. This is a little different. This also shows you when you added that client into the collaboration center. It shows, is the client using it? Looks like Bob hasn't gone into the collab center. Well, he actually is on vacation, but he hasn't gone in since December 2nd. When did he get his last house? Well, it looks like on the 8th, another home. So I can see, is he getting enough houses? Is he actually using the collab center? I can actually see all of that from here. But let me show you my favorite of what the collab center now does on the agent side. So they've gone in and they've favorited the properties that they want to see. And I teach this class a lot, so you'll notice there's a lot in this favorites here. I'm going to click on it, but the last thing I want to do, as I mentioned, is write down all those addresses, right? And now try to find them in the MLS and now try to schedule them. That would be awful. So what if I told you, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to grab a couple of these here to make our lives a lot easier. So let's say for the sake of time, I'm just going to pick these couple and I'm going to hit this checked button just to make it a little bit easier. For the sake of time, I now want to go in and I want to drop these right into a showing time cart so that it figures out the order, it knows the best driving directions. I want to make it simple. So I'm going to pick these and I'm going to go up to actions, which I tell people is like the easy button. Think of actions as like your easy button. And I'm going to drop them right into showing time. Now, one little quick tip I mentioned, I'll give you a couple quick tips that have really helped me. And one is adding the agent name. I've been really fortunate, I have to say. I would say probably 98% of the agents that I've done deals with, like great agents like Ed Martin, Don Waldrop, so many agents I've worked with that have been just fantastic to work with. I mean, they know their stuff, they return your calls. But of course, there are those 2%, right? That you feel like you did the entire transaction yourself. You feel like you carried the whole load for your clients and their clients, and they never returned a single phone call, didn't even show up for the closing. You know the agents that I'm talking about. So one of the things I like to do is I like to, in my search results, customize it so I can see who actually had that property listed. Now, not that I wouldn't show that 2%, but if I got 10 houses to show and I got a choice between working with Ann Peterson, who knows her stuff backwards and forwards, and some agent who never returned my call, let me tell you who I'm going to put at the top of my showing list. It just makes sense, right? So seeing that right in your search results is important, but it doesn't come out of the box that way, which it did, but it doesn't. So if you go to this customize button, did you know you can add in things like that? So right on that main view, I can see the agent name and their cell phone number, so I can see who had that property listed. So don't be afraid to customize your search results to make it a little easier. So in this case, I can see, okay, yep, I want to show these 6 homes. I want to drop them in a showing time cart. I'm going to go right up to actions, showing time. By the way, Showing Time has a brand new app. You now can edit your Showing Time cart and create one from the app, which was my complaint in the old one. If you remember, I know I've talked to a few of you about it. Didn't like the fact that you could not rearrange your showing cart on the app, but you can do that now. So I want to throw these into my Showing Time cart. I'm going to say that I'm going to be showing these properties this Friday, and I'm going to show them to Barry, my buyer. And what this does is it drops them in the way that you have them in the MLS, but nobody is going to drive like that, right? I'm not going to drive from one end of town to the other end of town, then back to the other end of town. That's not going to make sense. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put these in a smart route. Uses Google Maps, so that driving direction makes a lot more sense down here, right? The other thing is, let's say that they're reaching out to Ann and they're saying, you know, Ann, I only got a half hour, but I got a lunch and I want to run out and see 2 or 3 houses. Well, in that case, it's really nice to see in one screen what is a go and show, meaning I'm going to get the lock boxes right away, versus what's an appointment that needs to be confirmed. So right here, I can see, oh yeah, I got 2 go and shows. Maybe Ann wants to move those together to give a little more time for our appointments to be confirmed. So you can actually, as you see, I just drag and drop those in. You could change the order over here. You could flip around the direction. Maybe you want to start with the last one first because it's closer to home. You could do all of that. But what I do like about this is it also will show you if there's any blackout times. So if an agent, let's say, doesn't allow overlapping showings, and there's a scheduled showing already, I can see that right from here. If there is a blackout time where the seller isn't allowing showings, I can see that from here. And I like that it also tells me how long to configure. Now with more electronic lock boxes, and sometimes they only give you that 15-minute window. So I don't want to, have 30 minutes of drive time. Now I'm way out of my window. So I can see right here, it takes me 6 minutes to drive from property A to property B. Only 1 minute, right in the same neighborhood, from property B to property C. Now I can go ahead and start that scheduling. So I'm going to say 10:15 is our start time. I know it only takes me 6 minutes, so I'm going to start my next one, maybe 10:45. By the way, if you see this reminder, and a lot of people say, Karen, I hate that stupid reminder. Well, this reminder is just sort of reminding you that part of the NAR lawsuit and the MLS practice changes that needed to be made do require you to have a filled out buyer representation agreement before showing homes. So that's all this is. I know it's annoying, but it's a way to kind of just make sure that you don't forget, because it's been a little while now, right? And we've all been in the habit of doing things a certain way for a long time. So that's what that little reminder is. It's just reminding you that you want to have that in place before showing your homes. So all I'm doing is picking all of my times. Then lastly, I can send all my requests at once, and now those can start being confirmed, and I'm starting to get those lock boxes. The other thing you can do here too, if you're not familiar with the showing time carts, let's say Ann found a for sale by owner. She reached out to them. She's going to do a one-party listing agreement if they like it. And now she wants to add that for sale by owner onto the tour of homes. But Ann doesn't want them calling her every 3 seconds going, what's the next house? Which one's number 4? Which one, right? So I'd rather add that in here. So I can add another stop. I can put that address in here. Or maybe you're taking them to lunch in between. Maybe it's a reload buyer and you want to take them to lunch. You could put that address in here too. That's going to add it to the driving directions that you can actually send those buyers. The other thing is, if you're like me, I don't know why this is, it must be the crazy hair, I don't know what it is, but every once in a while, I seem to get that string of buyers who say, guess what, Colleen, I know you're on your way out and you set up our tour, but we found 2 more houses, and you're like, yay. So you can actually add those on the fly too, even easier now in the new Showing Time app. But if you want to add another listing, Just click on it, put in the MLS number, and then you can rearrange it in your tour. So makes it very, very simple to make those changes through the showing time carts. Taylor, did we have any questions? I saw the question button light up a couple of times. Is there any questions you want to throw in here so far?
I think I answered most of them. There was one question about kind of how to get to the app. So if they hadn't already had it, which I know you covered really early at the beginning, but I just sent a link to everybody through the chat with it's the direct link to the My RealSource sign up so that you get it as a free member benefit as well as the copyrights. So if you haven't already signed up, you can find that specific link under Paragon Resources, or you can just use the link I added to the chat.
Oh, that's awesome. So thank you, Taylor. So yes, right here under resources, we tried to put all of your, and Taylor actually helped formulate this. I hated when I first came to My RealSource many, many years ago, that everything was all over. I'm like, you know, who moved the cheese? Why do we have to keep finding everything? And so Taylor really said, you know, let's give them one place really to find what they need. And we've tried to really do that all under resources. So whether it's your agent tools that you're looking for, or you want to share properties with the single property websites, or you want to use market stats, or you want to find out how much content you have for the year, all of that is all under resources. So, and again, Kubacasa, that's where you sign up as well. Okay. And by the way, even if you're with our vendor MLSs, we've offered Kubacasa to all of them. So it doesn't matter, even if you're not a My RealSource member, you still get that discount, but you do have to remember to use the My RealSource. You have to say My RealSource instead of your particular MLS. Okay, I know with we always have, like, you know, we vendor 9 other MLSs, so there's always those questions on these calls. So okay, I'm going to show you some brand new stuff. If you are like, oh my gosh, this is a lot, Colleen, remember that's why we're recording it. Each product that I'm showing you, and I'm kind of showing you at a high level here, has its own class. The Collaboration Center, if you want to know how to get the most out of that, you want to know step by step how to set up a client, how to create the search, how to add in the features, like they want to buy on a land contract and they only want finished basements and they want a 3-car attached garage. We'll show you how to do all of that in the Collaboration Center class. Again, you can watch it recorded, or we've got another live one coming up the beginning of February. So all of that's there. The next I'm going to show you is Paragon Connect. So remember, Collab Center, client, right? But for you, the agent, you want to see what your clients are doing in the Collab Center, but you want to be able to adjust your listings and add a new listing and put in photos and talk to a contact and set them up at the grocery store. All of that is done in your Paragon Connect. Okay, so that's where we're going to go next. Now, as I mentioned, when it first came out, it was a little bit of a struggle. So one of the things that they've done recently is they've added Paragon Connect right to your dashboard. A lot of people aren't aware of it. Just looks like another icon. I guess I need to change my Christmas icons here, but I should do that. Right here at the end, you're going to notice Paragon Connect. This allows you to use the mobile app on your desktop. But I'm going to show you 3 things that were just added that are brand new before we start getting in here. Of course, you can go into the hamburger stack here. You can go and do a search. You can find all the stuff, by the way, that we have in resources. It's all in Paragon Connect as well. So even if you wanted to sign up for Kubacasa through Paragon Connect, you can do that. Think of Paragon Connect as connecting you to your clients and you to the MLS. But now, so that you can use it, and especially since people did have that first, like, whoa, what is this shock? You now have it right on your desktop to start getting familiar with. Again, over the course of many, many years, it's not going to happen this year, tomorrow, or even next year. You'll see that the desktop and Connect start to look more and more similar. But what I want to show you here is a couple things that have just been released that I really, really like. And the feedback on them has been great. I have a lot of friends who, you know, have been beta testing them, and they are live for you to use right now. And I'm actually going to, go in as my friend Hank Mendes, because he always has all the fancy listings. I'm never quite that lucky to get all the really, I never have that really fancy like waterfronts, and you can always count on him for a couple good ones. And let's face it, those are a lot more fun to look at than my $50,000 fixer upper will be. So let's actually go there. So we're going to go into his Connect here. And this is, of course, where he can see what his clients are doing in the Collab Center. As I mentioned, he can pull in photos from his phone and add them in. But let's go into his listing section. I want to show you something that's new that I really, really like. And I have a really good testimonial story already on this one. So what if you wanted to know how many clients were set up in the Collab Center right now that matched your listing and all the criteria matched and it got sent out to the client? What if I told you can see, and you can even see what that client thought of your listing? So let me show you. If you go into published, this is going to show you all of your listings. But let's say we want to take a look at, let me see this Riverside. I knew I could count on it. Riverside, we're taking a look at this Riverside property right here. And what we want to know is how many clients are actually seeing it. Is it getting a fair amount of eyes at that price? So I'm going to go into reverse prospecting. And I know when you say reverse prospecting, I will tell you the hair on my neck used to stand up because I hate when you get those generic, I think you might be interested in this listing. I hate that. This is not that. What this allows you to do, and on my listing on Hastings about a month ago, I was shocked. I had 186 matches that I didn't even know existed. So 186 prospects were set up. But actually, the same person had a prospect. So in my own company that I work for, there were 26 agents who had clients set up. Those, of course, are going to be the 26 people I asked first, right? So tell me about your client. Now, these are not old, let me stress, these are not old clients that were set up years ago. These are within the last 6 months. You know how Collab Center makes you renew after 6 months? So these are people who have been touched or added into the system within 6 months. It also tells you when they received your listing. Now, of course, you don't get to know the client's name. That would be awful, right? Oh my gosh, you can see it's Joe Schmagegi. No, it doesn't work like that. What it does allow you to do is if I see Tracy Leonard, who happens to be a friend of mine, if I see, we've actually done a deal together, if I see she has a client set up in here, well, I'm going to want to reach out to her. Now, I can go ahead and select her, go up to email, but I don't want to put in some generic I want to put in a link to my Canva flyer. I actually, for my listing, had made a 2-page flyer with all the highlights and all the beautiful stonework they did in the front and some incentives, like they were going to redo the carpeting. And now, before you get too excited, because I can almost hear it going off in people's minds, is this where you put commission? No, this is not. You don't want to put in commission or concessions or anything like that. It's really for selling the property to that other agent with maybe things that you couldn't fit into the MLS or additional details or price changes if you just reduce the price. I link out to my Canva flyers from here, as I mentioned, but this is where you can put in that additional level of detail. But what was really surprising to me was the 26 people in my office that I had no idea had clients that were set up and matched. Now, you can do it individually, or you could go ahead and you could send it out to everyone, which will select everyone. Now, then the question came up, and I thought this was a really good question. And the question came up, well, what if new people get added? How do you know who you've already sent? You don't want to keep barraging them with your emails, right? Because we would hate that. How do you know if a new person gets set up? Well, the new person will, of course, be at the top, but it keeps track of every message that you send out. So every time you message someone for reverse prospecting, it shows you the email. And let me kind of show you where it would be. Under my content here, every Collab Center email that goes to your client, every reverse prospecting email you send out, those are all tracked under my content. If you go there, you'll be able to see every email. Your message history is there. Showings that were requested are there. But if I go into message history, I can see Hank's got quite a few clients set up in his Collab Center, and they're all getting these message notifications. I can open each one and see exactly which house got sent to them even. So it's keeping track of all of that for you. All right, so let me go back here to our listings. So that's in the way of reverse prospecting. But right now, we're seeing a time where, and not every area, I'm aware, but Some areas are seeing some decreased showings. I'm going to be honest, I listed a beautiful house, $500,000 house in Washington in August and had 19 showings in 2 days. We had 7 over asking offers. I mean, it was great. I listed a house right around the corner, equally nice house. We didn't have quite as much property, but pretty close, right? And I swear it was like someone turned the showing valve off, right? You know, all of a sudden it was like, okay, where's the showings? When are they starting? You know, it was just so with a time where I think a few of us are seeing some decreased amount of showings on properties. How do we know and how do we show or communicate to that seller that we may have to have a price adjustment? Because they've been hearing for years, record amount of showings, record amount of offers, record amount of money, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're going to have to get a little bit more realistic. And how are we showing that to our sellers? I'm going to show you 2 tools right now that are going to be very handy to know. The first one is, what if I told you just sometimes dropping the price 5,000 gets you 50 new views or 50 new clients that are set up in the collab center? And sometimes that happens. Now, in this $1 million example, that's probably not the best one. So let's actually look at this Toscana one. So let's say that Hank has this property here and he's trying to get more eyes on it, not getting a lot of showings, trying to show the seller that maybe if we just adjust that price slightly, we might get some more views. Now, sometimes you adjust it 5,000 down, you get 1 view. Sometimes you adjust it 5,000 down, you get 80 new views. So let me show you. Right, once we open up this listing, by the way, this is where you can edit every field of your listing on your phone too. But once we're here, if we go over to this more, we can obviously share our listing out very quickly, but there's this new one, this price analysis. So I'm going to click on price analysis, and he's got this listed for $684,000. Just so I can kind of show you how it works. What if we want to know if we drop that under that 650 number, how many new eyes we would get on it? Now, I'm not going to actually change his listing price because I know everybody's like, oh my God, is she changing his listing price? Who does she think she is? No, I'm just recalculating it so we can actually see, would this bring us more buyers? So we had 37, so really not that many more eyes. So we now have 44 people in the collab center that would be able to see this listing if we drop that price. But it's really amazing because sometimes you'll drop it 5,000, you'll get 80 new people who are set up in the collab center in the last 6 months that are interested in it. Then other times you change it and you get 1 new person, so it's not really that exciting. Of course, you can go ahead and apply the new price up here too as well, but it's a great way to see if just dropping that price would get you into that, I call it the sweet spot, right, where you're getting that many more buyers. One of the other things, and this was a perfect testimonial, which I didn't plan on. I was teaching at Real Estate One recently, and my friend Mary Rose, she kind of had this problem listing, and it just needed a lot of repair. And it had been with her for a while, and she was saying, yeah, we just got this really terrible lowball offer, but I think we're going to take it because it's all we've had. So the interesting thing with reverse prospecting, and I am going to, let's see if I can find, let's use this one, see what we got. In her reverse prospecting, she again could see all of the agents who had clients that were set up. But what's interesting, and hopefully this will be one that we can see, that if a client favorites a property, you can see that. Oh, good, thank you. Doesn't always work when I randomly pick an example, but Tracy Borg, you came through for me. So Tracy Borg got her clients are set up in the collab center. Her client received this new property on the 3rd of January. Now, what's interesting here is I can see that her client favorited that property. So Mary Rose was getting ready to take this offer. Well, as I'm showing her, the day before, she wasn't having very many showings, but the day before, there was an agent I think it was Tracy, in her office, not this Tracy, different Tracy, that had a client receive it and favorited that property. So I said, well, this client just got it yesterday. They might not have had enough time to see it. Maybe you should reach out to this agent. Sure enough, she did. The agent actually showed the property and they wrote a better offer. So it was like a real life testimonial about seeing things that you didn't even know were there. Had she not seen the heart to know, oh my gosh, this other agent has a client set up, they are interested in the property, I better reach out to her before we take this offer, that wouldn't have come together. So just a great way. By the way, if they reject the property, if they say, no, I don't like it, you can see that. You don't see the client name. Remember, that client is under contract to someone else, but you can see if they liked it or they didn't like it, and it's a great way to, again, reach out to that agent. All right, I know I'm running out of time. I got 1 minute left. I want to show you this last piece, and I have to give the total credit to this for Taylor. Taylor just does a great job of, she's kind of the project manager, bringing on things like this. She did a great job kind of designing our single property website that I'm sure you're all familiar with. Great ways to go in and share your properties out onto social media without giving away your lead. I'm always amazed at how many agents still share their listings on Zillow and still share them from Redfin. And the problem is, you just worked so hard, took all the photos, put in the great descriptions, did all this. You're sharing it out to give it to someone else who just bought that zip code. Never will understand that. Better way is to share it with the single property website. There's a new piece just released. And by the way, this is going to get even better in about 30 days, and I'll tell you why. So under resources, this is where you could find your single property website links. So it's called property inventory links. And this is, and I'll just show anyone who's not familiar, this is where it creates, as soon as you put in your listing into the MLS, within 30 minutes, it creates a website just for your listing. High resolution photos, all of the details, but at the bottom, when clients are looking at it, they're only seeing you, your other pendings, and your other solds. So you're not giving away all of your hard work. But the thing to know about this is, in this time where sellers, and it happened to me, so I'm just going to share my story. The seller said, well, I'm not getting a lot of showings. And all my friends who sold last year, they said, record showings, right? Now we have to explain, okay, it's a little bit of a changing market. And well, are you even advertising my listing? What are you doing to get it sold? So Taylor said, it'd be great if we had this report that could show the seller how many eyes you got from Zillow, how many eyes you got from Realtor.com, how many eyes came in from the MLS, how many eyes came in from Trulia. What about the data shares? What about Realcomp? What about Flex and Gmart listings? And how are people seeing it? So Taylor said, we're going to put in this report that is going to allow you to send those stats. And it's going to allow you to even set a frequency. Maybe you want to show your seller once a week. Maybe you want to show them once a month. How many eyes you're actually driving into their property. So in this case, let's use Hank's. Hank got 77,176 eyes, basically search impressions. So people went to Zillow or Realtor.com and they literally typed in information and it popped up. But how many people liked the photo, clicked into it, and actually want to know more about that property? Well, that's our next. Page views. How many actually clicked into the page and wanted more detail on the property? How long has it been tracked? On average, how many eyes are you getting? We see 23%, or 23.4 eyes, I'm sorry, on average. But what if I want more details? What time was the peak traffic? When are people looking at it? You can click on this detailed report, and I can see how many total. Again, here I can see the time that they're looking at it. I can see the best dates that they looked at it, how many in the last 30 days. So it gives an entire breakdown. And of course, not only is it going to do this for Realtor.com, it's going to do it for Zillow. We're still working on the Zillow feed, but that should be done here shortly. And this is giving the Zillow breakdowns, but you have to actually click in. It's not feeding it out to the page yet, but that will be done here probably in the next couple of days. And again, this is brand new. We were just turning this on, just so you're aware. But again, this is going to give the breakdown for Zillow, 51,000. So he's getting eyes on it, right? Most might be probably because of his price point. That higher waterfront in winter isn't as popular as spring, right? But this is going to allow us to send this in a frequency. It'll show how many people looked at it from the single property website. And we're still working on that feed that will show you how many came in from Paragon. And then, of course, the long-term goal is to have a lot more, not just Zillow, Realtor, and Trulia, but to have even more data to complete that, to send it and automate it to your seller so they see how many eyes you're actually getting in. All right, I know I covered a lot, and you're probably like, lady with the fuzzy hair, how do you expect us to remember all that? Well, remember, you can find this class recording. It usually takes me about a day to get them up because I like to edit them and, you know, put the support numbers and everything behind them in case you need any help. But you can find that under the recorded webinars. And then all of our upcoming classes are going to be found in that education corner. But sign up, especially the Con Ed ones. We just released those next ones, and they're already full. So, you know, we try to do them every quarter, so there'll be new classes, and we're always creating new content. So make sure you're checking there often to see the new classes that are available. All right, Taylor, did I miss anything? I feel like I took them on a whirlwind tour of a lot of apps. Any questions that maybe I can clear up? And I know I ran a couple of minutes over, but.
Nope, just a couple questions about other classes and getting into them, as well as hybrid classes. I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I didn't.
Hybrid classes coming are on the schedule right now.
Yes,
and there's a couple questions about my photo program, which I think you just answered about, like, they fill up, but when they fill up, we'll open up another program, and each quarter we do a full program. So.
Yes, and actually tomorrow we're having a hybrid class. And for those of you who don't know, we did a major construction project in our building. So, and now we have this new state-of-the-art classroom where you can come in via webinar if that's the way you prefer. But I have good friends, like my good friend Rick, who's on our call today. He likes in-person, and I do too. I sometimes, especially when it comes to things like apps or tips and tricks or things like that, sometimes standing in front of somebody and just being able to help them navigate through it. Some people are just better learning that way. So many of our classes are going to be offered in that hybrid. Matter of fact, tomorrow we have our Paragon tips and tricks class, where we show advanced class or advanced tips of searching the MLS, and we're going to do that in our classroom. Again, you can find that in the education corner, but you'll notice the education corner kind of changed because it'll say in person, click here to register, or via webinar. Via webinar is the way we've been doing it for a long time, but now that that state-of-the-art classroom is complete, we want to see more members back in person if that's the way that they choose. So excited to open that up, and yep, like I said, we'll be there tomorrow. So if you're in the area, Rick, I hope I get to see you. I know you're not too far away. All right, I think that's all I have. So thank you, Taylor. Thank you for putting up with all the construction noise. Again, I apologize. They're doing massive construction, cutting up the floor as we speak in the room. Can't plan that.
We couldn't even hear it. At least I didn't. And then, yeah, Ann Peterson, you asked about where to find that seller report. Everything that we showed today, a lot of the tools and everything are all under resources in Paragon. So we try to keep everything right together there, and it's called the property inventory links. So when you click on that, that's where you'll find your single property websites and all your listing stats on your active listings.
And thank you for being my example earlier, Ann. So yeah, so try to follow along with Taylor there, but once you click on that, it'll take you, and it's right. So if you want to click on the single property website, you're clicking up here. For the listing stats report, you'll just click right here. And again, I think you'll see some great improvements to that over the next 30 days. So a lot of it's there, but even more coming. And again, getting those feeds, you know, from the MLS, getting that frequency where you can just go ahead and set it. But I've already been sharing it with my Hastings seller, and it certainly helps in the market, I think, that we're looking at right now. So. All right, well, thank you everybody for your time. I hope you have a great day. Go list some properties, and happy selling, everybody.